people buy into people. I could sell you anything I wanted to because people have confidence in me. It's not what I'm selling. It's me. You're the product. You need to invest in you and being the best version of yourself, because that's what you're going to go out in the world. And when you're presenting whatever you're presenting or whatever business you're in, that's what they see. They see you.
The following podcast is an American Influencer Council production.
Welcome to Creators with Influence, a podcast on the intersection between the creator economy and digital culture, where entrepreneurs come to share empowered stories.
Qianna Smith Bruneteau is a creator advocate, champion of lifelong learning, and movement maker.
Karston Tannis, known as Skinny Was Here, is a solopreneur, internationally recognized multimedia creator, and a promoter of creative inclusivity.
Together, they are your hosts.
Hey, Karston, how are you?
What's good, Qianna? It's good to see you again. I feel like it's been so long.
It's the 1-year anniversary of Creators with Influence, and we have an iconic guest, supermodel and entrepreneur Beverly Johnson. You might know her as the first Black model to grace the cover of American Vogue and French Elle, but her career is so much more than that. She has, broken barriers, known as the face that changed it all. Beverly Johnson is going to share lots of words of wisdom on what it means to have an abundant mindset, to pay it forward for others, and to know that when a door closes, that you still have other options to find a way to pursue your dreams, that a no is definitely not the end. And so Karston and I are so excited to present this episode. So good to see you, Beverly. I would love to have you, for our listeners who aren't familiar with your career, which I can't imagine that they're not, just briefly, give a high level overview of who you are, why you're fabulous.
Too many decades for okay, I'll try. I'm supermodel Beverly Johnson. I was the first African-American woman to grace the cover of American Vogue in 1974. I went on to be the first Black woman to grace the cover of Elle magazine in 1975. I'm an author of 3 books, one a New York Times bestseller. I've produced television shows, Beverly's Full House. I had the #1 hair and extensions and wig company in the nation. I've done so many things. We don't have enough time, or we just have this hour of all of the things that I've done. I'm a mother and a grandmother of 4, and I have 2 bonus grandsons also. So that's 6 kids in the house. You should be interviewing my daughter. She's the superwoman. But,
I love it.
I live out in the desert with my honey and my 2 golden doodles. So I live with 3 men, and it's not always easy, but I'm having a great time and a great life.
You've been a tremendous mentor to me and so many others, and I feel that, a lot of career creators have so much to learn from you. And I'm really excited to just dive right in. And Karston, you want to kick it off?
I do. And Beverly, again, thank you so much for joining us. You're kicking off the 2nd season of Creators with Influence, and Qianna's been dying to have you as a guest. So I'll start with the first question, and it is a quick statement and a question as well. So throughout your career, you've been a change agent. You were opening the door for many others by breaking barriers in the editorial fashion realm. And when you started your career, would you say turning adversities into opportunities became a pathway to success?
Yes, I mean, obviously that is what one has to do. but I think it was my mindset, how I grew up, and that made me think about the modeling world in a different way, because I never wanted to be a model. I wanted to be a lawyer. I mean, everybody in my family went to college but me, or graduated except for me and my other siblings. So I think that my approach to the fashion industry, I believe, was different than a lot of the other models that come into the industry, growing up wanting to be models, or just, someone saying and you get into the industry. So it was for me like I was going to law school. I was finding out everything I could about that business. So I dissected the industry more so than, of course, I got over a lot of adversity, but for me, it was just a puzzle.
Can you tell us about some of those adversities that you faced, but also I feel like most creators, you start off on the creative side, you end up learning the business, and as you said, you started to dissect the industry. Can you tell us some of the things that you've learned along the way, and some of those nuggets of information that you wish to pass on?
Yeah, well, yes, actually, that's very interesting. So yes, so I had this whole creative part of my being that I never even knew I had. I was an athlete, in academics. That's all I did, you
Mhm.
know. And so I didn't even know I had this creative side of my. So it was very interesting for me. So it wasn't only about fashion. I opened up to the opera, the dance, to museums, and it was just this whole world. I'll tell you a quick story. I'm in at Eileen Ford modeling agency. First of all, I got this huge break with getting to Eileen Ford. It's this like total fluke, right? You go. My mother makes me go to a boutique, work in a boutique. The year before I went to college, because I had no clothes, I only had sweatsuits and everything, because that's what I was the jock. And I was like, what? I can't be a lifeguard at Beaver Island? Are you kidding me? And I worked in this boutique and Jenny shopped on Main Street in Buffalo, New York. And there was a woman named Mimi, and she kept saying, you should be a model. You should be a model. I was like, excuse me, I'm going to be a lawyer. Thank you very much. So she says, before it leaves, she gives me the little piece of paper. She said, call this woman if you ever change your mind. Long story short, I go off to college. My first year, I'm crying, I'm homesick and everything. I'm a small town girl. The A girl, the A crowd takes me underneath their wings, and I really started to be comfortable. And I'm working at the Roxbury YWCA, teaching swimming, taking home $28 a week, so we can go to Harvard and all of the schools around. I mean, I was just living large. And then that job was cut. I was freaked out, because I've had a job since I'm 14 years old. Anyways, to make a long story short, they said, why don't you become a model? I said, a model? And then I thought about, what is this thing with the modeling? They literally take a magazine, they open it up, there's a girl standing there with her hands on her hip. She said, this is a model, and they make $75 a week. I mean, $75 a day. My father made $75 a week. So I called the woman in New York. She introduced me to Condé Nast. I had my first, modeling job with a 10-page spread for Glamour magazine. And the next thing that you had to do, and I'm going to make this short, the next thing you had to do was you had to get in a modeling agency. I said, well, who's the best modeling agency? They said, Eileen Ford. Ford Modeling. I'll go up to Ford Modeling Agency, lots of girls around. She goes, you, she points to me, you're fat. You do this one, that one. Okay. I go to all of the agencies, I'm turned down by everyone. They don't realize I just did a 10-page spread for Glamour magazine. And so finally, I guess the word, this is before, text messages and all the things that, we have today, that Eileen Ford wanted to see me. I was staying with my girlfriend from New York, the one who got me into all this modeling thing. And it was for the summer. And she says, come back down to the office. I come back down to the office. She says, hey, you lost so much weight. Long story short, now I'm working for Vogue, and I'm really working. I go in to meet with Eileen Ford. I said, this is what I would like. I would like to have a cosmetic contract. I would like to write a beauty book, and I want to get the cover of Vogue, because I found out in order to be a top model, you had to have that cover, not French Vogue or British Vogue, but American Vogue. And Eileen Ford looked at me and said, "Who do you think you are, Cleopatra? You will never be on the cover of Vogue."
Wow.
And I was like, okay, I'm thinking. And I go, okay, thank you very much. And I didn't even question it. But what I knew was I wasn't going to get the cover of the magazine there. I wasn't going to get it at that agency with Eileen Ford. So I went to Wilhelmina, which was her competitor. But before I went to Wilhelmina, I wrote her a beautiful note. "I can't thank you enough. You've been like parents to me," her and her husband. "And you've done so much for me. And I just want to know if I ever change my mind that I would be welcome back." She never answered back. So I went to Wilhelmina. Sure enough, I got the cover. She championed me. I got the cover. I stayed there for about 6 months. And then I went back to Eileen Ford, who welcomed me in, welcome home. And that's how I made all the financial gains.
Wow, Beverly. And I think, this is such a tremendous story of perseverance because, people, the first store is not going to open in the way that you might want it. And so you have to sort of pivot. And this is something we talk a lot about on Creators with Influence, is that opportunities might knock. Never burn a bridge because our industry is incredibly small. And, always have the tenacity to never let the dream die. You knew your worth and you knew you deserved the cover of Vogue, even when others didn't know you deserved it. You need those champions around you to also say and believe and push the dream. And I think that story is so encouraging. And, when other people are discouraged, to say, hey, keep working at it. And I love that you came back to Eileen. I got the Vogue cover. Now let's do this.
Let's get to work. Let's get to work. Exactly. But for me, it's, I believe in passion and I believe in dreams, but I think I believe in possibilities more, because I could have just dug in and said, no, I'm going to be a lawyer, and dug in there, right? But I saw a possibility, a possibility to help my family. There was a lot of kids going to college, and my parents, the cost of living was going up, and my father was still in that steel mill, making $75 a week. I believe in possibilities and take advantage of possibilities, because you never know where that possibility will take you. It could be to your destiny, and your dream and passion becomes, an afterthought.
And I just want to segue into something you've done. You've had over 500 magazine covers. Everyone knows you for breaking the barriers at American Vogue and with French Elle. But I've spent a lot of time with you. You have some of the best stories. I would love to get into some of the fashion moments that people don't necessarily talk about, but because there's so many good ones. What are some of the, London, Milan, Paris, couture, like everything, so many of the best designers, besties with Halston. I could keep going, but I gotta let you do it.
Oh, and an incredible life. And I've had 20 covers in the last 2 years that I've just done. But I've been so blessed and fortunate, and I'm so grateful and humbled by the life that I've lived and continue to live. Yes, I've worked with the greatest all-time photographers, Dick Avedon, Francesco Scavullo, you name them, and the greatest couture designers, Valentino. It just goes on and on and on. And it was my education to life. It was my education to fashion and luxury products and luxurious living, going to Lake Como to Valentino's home, and how people lived, and how, the serving, everything was just exquisite. So it was just such, and I'm a sponge, I'm an introvert, and I'm an observer. I don't do very much talking till you get to know me, then you can't stop me, but I observe a lot. I sit and I'm quiet. And I just, the one funny thing is that I always wanted to do fashion shows, right? And of course, I named for it. You can't do fashion shows. You're a cover girl model. No, that's not for you. That's for them over there. And I said, no, I want to do it because, I want to meet the designers of who all these clothes that I'm wearing in the magazines. I would like to meet them. And she said, no, you can't. I said, I'm doing it. So anyways.
Don't tell Beverly can't.
No, I want to do it, And she says, oh. So I get this thing in Halston, and Halston was the first person that who said, no, he was like grumbling. She's a cover girl. And Joe Ula, who was his right-hand person, who was the one that championed me in. And that was my start in the fashion world. But I couldn't really, I was presenting myself at Beverly Johnson, the cover girl, because they were like, that kind of thing, because we never crossed. So I like to say that I was one of the first ones to cross over into fashion shows and fit modeling, because that's basically what you did, because they made the clothes on you, draped them on you for their couture line, right? And then those girls went over to be photographed in Vogue and all of that. Really, really incredible. But when they sent me to Paris for Fashion Week, and I thought I was like, I'm a hard worker. I really am. I worked for the first 10 years without a Christmas, a holiday, a Thanksgiving, a birthday, nothing. I was just gone working the world. With those shows, you had to get here to that other show, in like minutes, and you come in and the show had already started, and they just start ripping the clothes off of you and just throwing you out there, you're halfway naked, and you'd be like, oh. I literally could not finish the day. I could not finish the day. I'm talking about like 12, 13 shows in a day. It was like, and I was looking at those runway models. I was like, had so much respect for them, a whole newfound respect for them, just particularly in the way they moved or whatever, but what they had to endure.
Oh yes, it's a marathon. It's a marathon.
It's a marathon. It was a marathon. So that was a very good lesson. But then I met all the other designers and things, and they were, everybody's drinking champagne and whatever, and just cigarettes, and everybody's talking there. It's just like not the studio, and you're the only one there, or you and three other models, and lunch is prepared. And no, this is not that. Okay, so that was, but I met the designers, and I went to the dinners and to their homes, and I really met them on a level that was absolutely, and I had friendships that I still have to this day.
Yeah, speaking of shows, actually, I met you backstage at the Sergio Hudson show. I was shooting,
Yes, you did.
Shooting video
yes,
there.
You did. I'm looking at your face. I know you. I do. Yes. How about that?
Yeah. So how was it, hitting the runway? I'm sure you've done it numerous times, but how was it, hitting it last year and just seeing the changes in the industry as far as inclusion is involved and the number of designers that are now like making their name known? How do you feel about that?
I think it's really wonderful, and I was very honored to be asked to do the shows, first of all, and there was a whole lot of preparation for me to do those shows. But I didn't have a Pilates instructor, and she said, oh no, we got to get your feet and your calves and in this posture. We had to build that, right? So it wasn't just like I slipped on a pair of 7-inch heels and started prancing out there. Oh no, you wouldn't make it. And so it was just like, and then I knew that I didn't really know how to do fashion shows or walk, because I came out as Beverly Johnson, you understand? I was like a celebrity. I wasn't like a runway model that, I'm not Pat Cleveland could twirl. I mean, this thing be twirling. I can't do that, okay? Naomi, no, I cannot do that walk. So I got a coach, Miss J.
Love it.
Got a coach. And I'm telling you, for 4 hours straight, I was walking this. I mean, he worked me to the bone. I learned so much about, tilting back and do. It's so very difficult. So it took me to a whole nother level. Now, I might not have accomplished that exact walk, but without that, it wouldn't have been so pretty. But the people were so receptive. They started applauding when I walked out and everything. And the last thing, they said, do not look at this is instructions for all the girls. Do not look at the audience and no smiling. So it's hard for me. People were like, go Beverly, go mama, Bev. I mean, and I was like, all I wanted to do was, but I didn't. I was professional. And then the other designer, Bibu Mohapatra, and like Cleopatra, and the clothes were so divine. And they had actually done the whole show around me. And all of the models that were all Black models. This was a tribute to me. Nobody's ever done that to me. I was like crying. I mean, a tribute to me. So obviously all the girls are all 6'2" from all over the world. And they're communicating with me, thank you for so much. And you broke the doors. But it was just such an honor, that they thought enough about Black History Month, about, my legacy, that they did that.
Well, speaking of legacy, how did you maintain being relevant and controlling your legacy and your narrative throughout all of these years?
So we didn't have that, relevant back in our day. We did have like overexposure in our day, right? So it was so interesting. Just goes to show you, it's so interesting. I'm, the hot model, in New York, they were recognizing, oh, that's that model, And so I said, I wanted to get a PR agent. So I went to Salters and Roskin, they got the cigarette, come on in, I don't want to take your money. What are you going to talk about? You're not really, models aren't really, celebrities. Sure enough, I got the cover like within months, because I had hired him anyway, paying X amount of dollars a month. And then, they had to, bring me in for media training and all that. So I foresaw what could happen. I made an investment into something that I didn't even know was going to reap the rewards. He said, I'm not promising you're going to get anything, And then, like a month later, I got the Vogue cover. And so everything opened up for me. And I operate from my heart and my gut. And I am, sometimes to a fault. I always keep an extroverted person around as a friend or a partner, because they get me out, right? Because otherwise I wouldn't go out to whatever. I couldn't care whatever it was, I wouldn't go. And so, which keeps me out and relevant. So I know my weaknesses in that way. But with everything, I still stay true to myself. And I'm, always on to the next thing, the next project. I want to grow here, I want to do that, and just fulfilling all the things that I think that I'm capable of.
I love that you said making an investment, because that is such a key component when you're building a career. It's when we work with a lot of startup businesses and, small businesses, and you have to put something in to get something out. And I think that's a great takeaway. You didn't know what the PR company was going to give you back in return, but it, reaped dividends for you. And, media training is so important. Creators are, front facing, building sometimes, communities in the millions. And, We are in a video first era, and it's so important to be able to speak with authority and to be able to come on camera and to speak to so many different audience segments and to do it in an inclusive manner. And that
Yes.
doesn't necessarily come natural to everybody.
No.
And so we encourage media training, big time. So I love those little nuggets.
Not only that,
takeaways.
because people, particularly women, we get into working and everything, and we forget about everything else: the way we look, the way we think, what we eat, everything becomes on the back burner. But it has to be on the front burner. And if you can't think of it as an investment in your business, because what people don't understand, I know you do, people buy into people. I could sell you anything I wanted to because people have confidence in me. It's not what I'm selling. It's me. You're the product. You need to invest in you and being the best version of yourself, because that's what you're going to go out in the world. And when you're presenting whatever you're presenting or whatever business you're in, that's what they see. They see you.
Very true. Just to get into some of the incredible women that you've worked as a female founder, I just think about all the incredible women you've mentioned. Naomi Sims, and you've worked with Pat Cleveland and Iman and Tyra Banks and Carol All and Christy Brinkley, and they're such the supermodels are like really like an incredible network, like the power network, right? I think that is, if you think about influencers, the supermodels, you guys really are the first.
Yes.
You really started it. I think we could give you a lot of credit there. Maybe
Yes.
there wasn't social media, but the influencing purchase decisions, influencing fashion, influencing taste. You were all controlling, an incredible narrative. I would love to just get into, pursuing unconventional careers. You talked about wanting to be a lawyer, but you have really built your own empire as a model. How do you help, mentor other young women who might be timid or other professionals to pursue their dreams because their parents can't necessarily see the big picture of going into a creative craft? I know Karston's parents are always trying to push him to medical or
Right.
accounting.
Right. Yes. One, I want to comment on the supermodel. We were the first group that you not only knew their face, they had a name. They were printing the name in the magazine. And I think that was my little error where they were. And secondly, I wanted to say that Naomi Campbell, Linda Evangelista, and I would go Verushka have the biggest, most important body of work of any other fashion model that's ever lived. I'll just go that far. Wow. That's how historic and legendary they are. That's how they've built a body of work that scanned decades and just picture after picture and show after show. It's quite incredible. And I don't know if they get enough, kudos for what they've actually built. The other thing I like to say is that I didn't make it on my own. I didn't know a makeup brush from a brush for your hair, basically. I had the most incredible men that introduced me to everything I knew. I had James Farabee was a hairdresser and a dermatologist, and every day I had my hair and my face done. Every day it was avocado packs, and he tried everything on me. And he was the one that took me to the opera the first time. We had matching caftans on, right? He was in a caftan. We had Tiffany jewelry. He taught me all about jewelry and pearls and diamonds. I had this education from all these incredible men that, taught me everything about, movie stars and Greta Garbo and Marlene Dietrich and all this that I had no idea even existed. So they were my mentor. I call them my gay gurus, but they were my mentors, and that taught me everything that I know. And I've always felt from first meeting Naomi Sims, this is how I first meet Naomi Sims. She was huge in the business, right? She could never, navigate for those covers or whatever. So she did Runway, and she was in the covers of Vogue magazine, but never in the way that she should have been. The most striking woman I've ever seen in my life. I mean, she was just like, literally, I was working in the Jenny shop, that first where I came. And of course you had to, even though I had doing Vogue and Glamour, I still had to have a part-time job. She would actually, she meaning Naomi Sims, was walking down the street. I'll never forget, with a violent puncher, and she literally stopped traffic. People literally came out of the building and looking at this woman walk down the street. And I was one of those people looking at her too, because my boss told me to go get some chock-full of nut hot dogs and bring them back. And I was like, OMG. Anyways, I'm at the fashion show with Halston, my first show. I'm in the corner doing my makeup. That's when you had to do your makeup. And Karston is, Naomi, where's Naomi? She's not here yet. Where's Naomi? Where's Naomi? She's late. Oh, the show's gonna start. Well, we'll start without her. No, we can't start the show with her. Where's Naomi? The whole thing was, where is she? She's late. And it was like all this drama, and I'm in the back going, and in walks Naomi Sims, and she's all in white. She stands in the middle of the room, and they just start to undress her. They're just taking her clothes, and she's all the way down to nothing. And she looks out of the corner of her eye, and there I am. She runs over to me. Remember, she's naked, right? And I'm like, and she bends down to me. She says, she takes my hands, and I'm like, she said, I just want to say, I'm so proud of what you're doing. I just want to say that I see everything you're doing, and I'm your biggest champion. Keep going. Keep doing what you do. I see all of your covers. Bravo to you. And I was like, thank you so much. And after that, I started asking people, what should I do when I walk out of there? How do you do it? But she made such an impression on me. At that very moment, I said to myself, all of the little girls, all the 15-year-olds that are marching up behind me right now, I am going to welcome them the same way she welcomed me. So that was it was because of her that I was so gracious to Naomi Campbell and Tyra. I remember that they would be in my car. I had a car then driving around. They would get in my, they were just lovely.
The Naomi
so
Campbell in your car is my favorite story. You have to tell this story.
Yes,
so
yes. Naomi Campbell in my car. This is like when, just pure raw beauty, and it just, it was just wonderful. We became very friendly with Tyra's mom, and Beverly Peel. She was like 9 years old. She was my height. She was 9 years old. I remember we went to some amusement park or something like that. I've known these kids since they're little kids, because they kept getting younger and younger and younger. And so I'm very proud, because it was not all fun. When I came to do Runway, they were like, you got all the covers, you got all the magazines, now you over here on our thing too. I said, no, you don't understand. No, we do understand. I mean, they changed my shoes, put pins up. I mean, it was rough. So it wasn't easy. I remember getting the Vogue cover, the day after the Vogue cover. I only did shoots with white people. There was never any black people on the shoots. Girls are, hi, I just love your Glamour magazine, that purple eyeshadow you have. You just look so pretty. Oh, your skin's so pretty. Next day after that Vogue cover, I never forget it. It was a Sears catalog shoot, and I never did a lot of money jobs because I did so much editorial. I said, I'm going to start taking some money jobs now. And I walk in in the dressing room, and the 3 friends of mine, white models, are sitting there. They don't even turn around. I go, hey, hi, everybody. They don't even turn around. Don't even say, good morning, hello. And I'm thinking, and I realize it's that Vogue cover. It's that Vogue cover. So now I'm out with, because in the 70s, it's all Black people. 70s was like, we have overcome, we thought. It was, Pat Evans with the bald head, big afro. I mean, it was just a beautiful era for Black models. It really was. Never seen anything like it. Nobody spoke to me. Nobody.
Wow.
Nobody. And guess what? I didn't give a damn. I did not give a damn. And then, things worked out when I got the next cover and the next Vogue cover, then they started to say, okay, she's here to stay. So we might as well just say good morning. Good morning.
So really quickly, I just wanted to ask a follow-up question regarding that, because I've watched previous interviews, and you talk about that cover being the time when you know that you've arrived, but also you've mentioned too that because of the competitive nature of the fashion industry, you had to remind people that there's room for everyone. So
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about owning your light, taking up space in all of these rooms, and also
Yes.
opening doors for others as well?
Yes. That's a psychology, right? It's a certain psychology that you have, that you think that there's not enough to go around. We live in an abundance universe. There's enough for everybody. There's more than enough for everyone. And if you don't have that kind of mindset, I think you stifle yourself, right? Because you miss making a friend of someone that you thought was a competitor. Naomi Sims went on to have the first wig line, and then she had the first makeup line, and she used me, and she invited me to her dinner parties. I mean, she was like just connecting me all in there. It's very important for me. And of course, it depends on people's personality, because, other people have that's their thing. I get that, and I respect that too. But I just think that, that there's a bridge that has to be built. And, I stood on the shoulders of Helen Williams, and, a lot. And you know how I met Helen Williams? She was doing my clothes for the Naomi Sims shoot, and she was the lady that was bringing me the clothes, and she says to me, I'm the model standing skinny, She says, I was a model, and I go, oh, when when you're young, you really don't know. Old people just old people, right? I said, oh, you were? She said, yeah, I was probably the biggest model. I said, oh, she started talking. She said, you're doing a good job. Right after that, I ran right down to the library and got the Helen Williams magazine, the Ebony magazine that she was on, to educate myself about her. So it's not only helping people up, but going back and looking whose shoulders you're standing on, and giving everybody flowers, It's just goodwill.
In terms of, part of the AIC's mission is mentorship, and that, I think, paying it forward. I really believe the past dictates the future. And you mentioned working with Scavullo and Avedon and Irving Penn and Arthur Elgort and so many other amazing photographers. You really gave me a history lesson in fashion photography when I started. And some of those names I didn't know. And then I was like, oh, I need to come correct and do my research. And I think that it's really important for young people who are in a creative space to know, who set the trends, because trends repeat themselves. And I would just love to know, in terms of mentorship and, why that's important.
I think it's very important. And I think sometimes what happens is people become intimidated with super wealthy people, or people that are very famous. but people, human beings naturally want to help. That's what I found. I have 5 mentors. They're all billionaires and they're all women. And, sometimes I don't call them all the time. Like you and I, we don't talk all the time, but when we have a question and you want something, then you're going to call me. So I wait till there's really something that I need to know. And I'm going to call this person, right? Because she may even be younger than I, but she's on a whole different level than I am. So her perspective is like, she's standing on the table, I'm sitting in a chair. She sees everything to get the advice from her. And I take the advice. So I think that mentorship is so very important, because not only does it help you, answer questions or things that you want to know about a certain business, but they also will connect you. Hey, you know what? I'm giving this party over here and I want you to come. A lot of people say, no, I don't think I can come. No, you gotta come. No, this is not a request. This is like, you gotta come. So, it's this kind of connectiveness that you need in order to propel yourself further, faster. Of course, you're going to fall down, and we learn the biggest lessons from failure than we do from our successes. But we want to be able to propel ourselves as fast as we can and the further we can. And that's what mentorship does. That's what mentoring other people, because you're never too young to mentor someone else that doesn't have as much experience as you have. So you want to make sure it's going out both ways. Does that make sense?
I love that.
Yeah. So following up on that question, so for all of the entrepreneurs listening, what is some business advice that you can give, or some business lessons that you've learned along the way?
Entrepreneurship is one of the toughest choices of life you could make. So if you're faint at heart, don't even try it, okay? Just go ahead and do something else, because I wrote a book, The Self-Made Billionaire. And most self-made billionaires lived in corporate America and became so creative, they couldn't exist there anymore. And then they became an entrepreneur. And I understand that now, because they know how corporations work, think, and what you need to do to get into them, because you're going to be taking your product to someone. So you know what you know both sides of the coin. I am doing a workshop, but I'm not just doing a workshop by myself. It's called Bold Fortune, The Psychology of Success.
Wow.
I'm doing it with a gentleman by the name of Dr. Joseph McClendon III. And also with Kamika Smith, who you know from the Boss Network, who has 250,000 women. And now she's also giving out grants, and she's the most extraordinary woman. I've met her 11 years ago. She's my other mentee, and she's just, an amazing woman. So we three have joined forces. But it's not just inspirational stories. I know I'm going on a little bit long, but this is very important. It's not just inspirational stories. It's actually changing the way you think. Because what we realize, and what I realize, is that what contributed to my success was my psychology. It's the way I think. And the way you think and Karston thinks are not really the way most people think. So it's, of course, it's fear of failure, fear of success, procrastination, and all those other things. But people really don't know how to identify their psychology and also get a new psychology. So they're coming away with tools, not just inspirational stories, tools that will change their life. Very exciting.
I mean, I'm going to be signing up for sure.
Thank you. I hope so. I'd like to have you on as a guest one time, because we're going to try to continue it.
Awesome.
Is
You
that
gave us
one thing?
so many words of wisdom. I feel super inspired from this conversation. I've been dying to get you on the podcast, and I'm so pleased. It's been such a pleasure to have you drop some gems with me and
Yay.
Karston.
I
For
just want to say one
sure.
thing. I want to say one thing. I want to congratulate both you and Karston. Yeah, you are. I'm so proud of you. Every time you send me something, I go, "Oh, she's doing it." You know, I'm so proud of how you keep yourself open to all of the possibilities. You know, this is a brand new space podcast, and you really and you're in it, and it's powerful. Reach out to everyone and anyone. They're not too big. The sky is the limit. Reach out to that person. Reach out to that billionaire. I bet you they'll do your podcast.
we constantly going after everybody because I feel knowledge has to be shared. We all have so much to learn from everyone. Creators might not be thinking about being a supermodel, but you've been able to do something that's unthinkable, and I think that's what we want to impart on people is that no matter what the industry is, we all have something to learn from each other. All right, Beverly B, as we sign off, how can our listeners find you on social media? Where are you at?
I am Beverly Johnson, Instagram, and Beverly Johnson on Facebook.
Amazing.
That's it.
And Twitter. Aren't you still on Twitter?
Yeah, I'm still on Twitter. Beverly Johnson 1. I'm still on Twitter.
Awesome.
I'm still on Twitter. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much,
Amazing.
Beverly.
Thank you so much,
It's been
Beverly.
a pleasure, and I would talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Creators with Influence is produced by the American Influencer Council, the sole 501c6 not-for-profit trade association in the U.S. created by and for career creators.